Okay, I think it's 5:30. I think we're going to get going. So welcome all to the 2020 Sheridan Startup Challenge. My name is Scott Rendell. I am the Director of Impact 307 here in Sheridan. And as everyone knows, this has been a most unusual year. And if it was a normal year, we would actually be down the street at the WYO Theater, and we would have a house full of community members and friends and family. This is not a normal year. And so we are making the best of a live stream process where we will still have our judge panel here live and our participants, but we will have lots of folks hopefully out on the live stream viewing the presentation. And so we thank you for coming, viewing in, and hopefully you'll enjoy the evening. So Sheridan Media has done an exceptional job with arranging the live stream. The technical support has been impeccable, and so this would not be possible without Sheridan Media. So welcome all viewers, and we hope to have a great evening. So I wanted to refresh everyone on the process to this point. So the Startup Challenge is about a 3-month process, and so we opened the application period in mid-August. Our applications actually opened August 17th, and we allowed about a 5.5 week window for applications, and so they closed on September 22nd. We had 51 applications this year, which is about a 30% increase over last year. So there is lots of interest in starting businesses. There's a real spirit of entrepreneurism here in Sheridan, and so we had a wonderful response. The judges took the 51 applications, and to their credit, they read through all 51. We convened on Friday, September 25th. We had the judges go through the merits of all of the business plans. And from that process, we actually had them select 12 to be semifinalists. So it was 51 down to 12 semifinalists. The semifinalists were notified. They had about a week to prepare a 5-slide summary of their business plan and to come in and actually meet with the judges live, where there could be some active discussion and interplay with the judges on the business plans, lots of Q&A. And from that process, which happened on October 5th and 6th, the judges had the very difficult decision to get down to the 5 finalists that you'll be seeing tonight. So that whole process was about 2 months in. We've spent the month of October actively working all of the business plans, and I think you'll be very pleased with the quality and the thoughtfulness that's been put into the business plans this evening. And our first live stream pitch ever for the Sheridan Startup Challenge. So this whole process and our program would not be possible without the support of a number of organizations. So I just wanted to mention them real briefly and recognize them. So Sheridan County and the city of Sheridan are wonderful local supporters of us. First Interstate Bank, Davis and Cannon, the University of Wyoming, the Wyoming Business Council, and the Homer and Mildred Scott Foundation are all, they either contribute funds into the Startup Challenge Seed Fund, or they in some other way support our program. So we want to recognize all the sponsors, and if we had the house full, we would give them a hand, but we'll just recognize them like this evening. So, okay, a big thank you goes to Century 21. So without having a wonderful facility like this, to run the live stream and to have the presenters come in, this would all not be possible. So I want to have a specific shout out to Bruce and Rosemary Garber. They have been wonderful to work with through all of this, as well as Susan Grant. Susan is one of the wonderful agents here at Century 21, and she has been instrumental in helping us arrange all the logistics. She is doing traffic directing of all of our participants this evening, and she has just been wonderful to work with. This team here is first class, and we want to recognize them for the wonderful service that they're giving to our program. Okay, another big thank you. I mentioned Sheridan Media. Not only have they done all the technical details of the live stream, but they have run feature coverage on each of our 5 finalists over the past week. It's run on the radio. They run lots of nice ads for us. And hopefully everyone that has an interest in entrepreneurism has been able to hear that the fact that this was happening tonight, and a lot of it has to be due to the wonderful coverage that Sheridan Media has given us. I also need to call out the Sheridan Press. The Sheridan Press last week ran feature front page articles on each of the 5 finalists. And so every day there is a new finalist featured. It's exceptional coverage. We really appreciate what they do for the community, and it really helps make this event really what it is. So, also a big thank you. Once the semifinalists are determined, each of the finalists gets some hours to work with The Only Co., which is a marketing and professional services company here in Sheridan. The Only Co. is a wonderful group of talented professionals that has made these presentations impeccable. We have videos, we have high-res photos, we have a number of things that they've done to professionalize what the participants have presented, and it just makes it that much more sharp. It's something that each of the participants will be able to use for marketing information or marketing presentations as they continue to develop their business plans and acquire customers. So a big thank you goes to The Only Co. They do a wonderful job for us. And then the judges. The judges show an incredible amount of dedication to this effort. They go through the 51 applications, as I mentioned. They spend 2 half days, better parts of 2 days, going through the semifinalist pitches, and then they're here tonight. I want to recognize each of them. They do such a wonderful job for us. So Tim Barnes, co-founder of Blacktooth Brewing Company, is one of our judges. Laura Lehan, founder of Peak Consulting. We have Sean Parker. Now, Sean Parker had a COVID exposure earlier today. He is on the live stream. He will participate in the judging panel. We will bring him in after all the participants are complete to get his input. If he has questions, we will have an opportunity to ask his questions. But since he was COVID exposed, he is home in the safety of his residence, and hopefully he will be able to participate remotely. We have Jesus Rios, CEO and co-founder of Ptolemy Data Systems. We have Eric Schlitt, my counterpart, director at Impact Casper, drove up this afternoon. Thank you, Eric. And finally, Jeremy Scott. He is a board member of the Scott Foundation, also an active entrepreneur and investor in his own right. So he's been wonderful to help assess the plans, and we really thank him for being on our judging panel. Okay, so just to give everyone an idea of what the format is for this evening, we have each finalist will be invited in. They will have about 15 minutes of content where basically uninterrupted they will go through the various elements of their business plan and why they would like to be able to use seed money that would be part of the winning of tonight to move their business plans forward. So that's about 15 minutes. The judges, for the balance of the 30-minute time allotted for each participant, will have the opportunity to ask questions. And so we will get some questions that the participants will field directly. We will call time at the 30-minute mark, so hopefully we can get everything in promptly. And then after the final presentation, which will be around 8 o'clock, we will have the live stream will be turned off. The judges will remain here. They will deliberate, and then we will have the 3 finalists identified. So the notification of the winners, everyone that is on the live stream will be able to log into Sheridan, the Sheridan Startup Challenge Facebook page, also our impact307.org webpage. SheridanMedia.com will actually post the winners, and the Sheridan Press will have an ad that announces the winners as well later this week. So there'll be multiple ways for the winners to be announced. And then last but not least, there is an Audience Choice Award. And so everyone that is viewing on the live stream, periodically through the presentation, Sheridan Media is going to put up a text number. And then there's going to be a code for each of the participants, each of the plans. And so what we would appreciate everyone doing is viewing all of the plans and hearing all the discussion, and then at the conclusion of the evening, actually texting their choice or their favorite business plan to the code that's on the periodic posting of the participants. And so that will be done by Sheridan Media throughout the evening, and we invite everybody to vote for their favorite plan. And so that is recapping what the Audience Choice Award is. And like I said, we will announce the winners on the sites that were listed previously. And with that, we are going to invite our first participant in. We can get this going. So Jason Hodges is with Wolf's lighted crystal necklaces. Jason has a very interesting and intriguing business plan, and he'll be first up. So we're just going to take 30 seconds to roll his presentation, and we'll get going. Thank you very much for attending.
Yes. Now, many of you folks here probably haven't heard of me before because I'm from a different land. In my place, you might have, well, shoot, you probably haven't because you don't have them here on Earth. Well, in my place, I'm what's known as a wizard of light. Now, as you can see on me, I have lots of baubles and pieces and things that glow. And where I come from, it's these pieces that help go against the things that go bump in the night. Well, we bump back. Now, shoot, I must have got some darn wizard all grumpy at me sometime because I was laying in bed, just minding my own business. The next thing you know, I got swallowed up by a portal, and I got plopped down here in Wyoming. Now, this is an interesting place because I learned real quick, you don't have some of the critters that I got. You don't have these dragons and goblins and things like that. Well, shoot, you got cows and other things like that. But I did find that there's a market for some of the things. That doesn't quite do what it does where I'm from, but it does do some neat things. And thank you. My name is Jason Hodges, and I am the owner of Wolf's Lighted Crystal Necklaces. And some of the things that we're going to talk about tonight are related to that persona of Jim Odysseus and that character that I've created, and was also very close to many of the customers that I sell to and that are interested in these particular products. So before we get into that market, let's talk about some of the products. And you can see them on me. A lot of what we have in front of you as well. And really how this all kind of started are with my crystal necklaces. Now, I work for a wonderful company right now, Agterra Technologies, and the owner of that company, Alan Telk, he introduced me to a particular crystal that's local here to Wyoming called selenite. And real quick, within that, I learned that, gosh darn it, those things light up pretty dang easily. And I would go out and I'd create these things with my kids, and we started making crystal necklaces. And then we started making bottles that glow, and we started making little jars and dice bags and all sorts of other things. And we began to attend different parks, and as we would go, people would get interested. And they'd say, can I trade you for that? I'd get better at it. Can I buy that from you? And then those parks themselves engaged me and asking me, how can we get more at our facilities of this kind of thing? So what is it that makes what I do a little bit different? What adds value with the products that I particularly offer? Now, the market that I sell to, just as you saw me introduce myself earlier, Jim Odysseus, there is a worldwide phenomenon called cosplay or costume play. And that's where people from all sorts of professions who have grown up through life, those comic book geeks, those sci-fi nerds, those Star Trekkies, you know, all those people who get excited about dressing up in costume and going to their favorite conventions or going to their favorite parks. Now, a lot of the things that are available for those costumes are mass-produced plastic pieces of junk, let's be honest. To find quality pieces that are made, just like in any industry, that are made with real products such as wood, glass, leather, steel, are hard to find. The plastic junk is a dime a dozen. So right off the bat, they are looking to upgrade their existing piece of outfit. What can I do that's going to set me apart? And that's number two, is get attention and stand out. What is going to separate me from all the other guys dressed up as wizards, all the other people dressed up as Harry Potter, all the other individuals that have exactly the same Walmart costume or Spencer's outfit or wherever they may have gotten it? What's going to make me different? We can, because we produce in small batches with real materials that they're not going to find anywhere else. Next, and this is probably one of my most important ones, is remembering something special with a souvenir. I'm a father of 6. I can't tell you how many times I've gone to Disney or gone to Universal Studios or something like that, and I wanted something that was just really cool and neat for my kids that they could take home and go, hold it up and go, man, I remember that time. I remember that moment. And that's really cool, to give them something that's unique that not a million other kids have, but that's something that they hand out and they hand pick and go, that's my crystal bottle that I got at a place. And the next is experience artesian authenticity. You can't get this anywhere else. This isn't produced by the millions. This isn't produced by the billions. Every bottle, every crystal, everything that you have on your table, these are unique. Every single one of these are individual. It's your piece that you're holding in your hand, and there is a value to that that you really just can't get anywhere else. So, my target market, who are we looking at? Many of you may not know, but the cosplay market is something that's been growing since the 1950s. It really started to take hold back in the late 70s, early 80s at Star Trek conventions, when people would get together and they want to remember that favorite show from the 1960s. But prior to that, there's a whole market. If you actually Google 1950s Marvel cosplay, you'll see people in black and white photos who are getting dressed up as Superman and getting all together. That market is over $17 billion every year. The next line here is really important. 15% every year for the last 17 years. So it hasn't experienced just a 15% growth, but year over year, it grows 15%. To the point where in the public consciousness, we hear things about San Diego Comic-Con and how large they have gotten, and it becomes not just a city, but a small country every time that happens. Every single state in the union has at least one major Comic-Con and multiple smaller cons in addition to Ren fairs, Wizard fairs, and all sorts of things. That's the market I'm selling to. Are those people that are the closet, or they're the accountant and they're the closet cosplayer who wants to go out because they have 1 weekend a year where they can let everything go. That's the market I'm capturing. The average attendee, on top of hotels, on top of the ticket, on top of everything else, spends between $100 to $500 every visit specifically for souvenirs. That is a captive market that is looking for the products that I sell and offer. Now, an example of that is Evermore Park. In Utah, Pleasant Grove, Utah, there's a park called Evermore. And think of it as a permanent Ren fair with a fantasy twist. They do trolls and wizards and all sorts of things. And it's that place that I originally introduced. My friend and I, Mike, he works over at a well facility here in town, Craft Co. We went a couple of years ago, and because our wife sent us a Facebook posting about this, and we showed up. And the first day we went, we actually missed the park. They had closed for the season. We had driven 8.5 hours just to go to closed gates. And so then we had a month before they reopened, and we thought, we're going to come back and we're going to do it right. And so we came back and we came in costume. Now, one of the things I learned at Actera Technologies was microelectronics, how to use small componentry, micro componentry to make my costume light up. And so I did just that. And when we went there, I tell you, I can't tell you how many people mistook me for an actor. And then it grew. I started to post pictures of my stuff on Facebook, and I got a following. And people go, can you do this for me? Can you do that for me? Man, I'm going to be at the park in 2 weeks. Can you build me a staff? Can you build me a pair of gauntlets? Can you do these kinds of things for me? To the point where now 2 years later, not only has the park invited me to be a permanent vendor there, which I am since May, they've also asked me to do props for their actors. They've also asked me to do permanent pendants for the park and other things that have integrated what I do hopefully for a living into things that they want and they desire, not only for their customers, which I drive customers there, and they contact me and say, hey, we had X amount of people come because you showed up, to actually going, man, I can do this in other places. So outside of that park, getting into some of these conventions, what does my competition look like? As I said earlier, mass-produced plastic items. Some of those items come from video games, they come from anime or Japanese animation that has become popularized here in the United States since the 80s. So for anime, we get a lot of people that want anime cosplay swords. I can't tell you how many individuals come up to me with their sword and they go, can you make this glow? Yeah, I can do that. You walk into a convention, you walk into a geek shop, you walk into a thing, and everybody has the same sword from Sword Art Online or one of these other places. There's 100 of those geeks around. but there's only one geek who's got something that's made out of wood, that has LEDs on it, that has a crystal tip, or has other things like that. And that's what these people are going for. Not the 100 booths that sell the exact same thing, but the 2 or 3 booths that have the custom-made artisan pieces that they can afford and they can bring home. Next, our guns are their Overwatch guns, same kind of thing, mass-produced, everybody has them, looking for those items that are different. And then lastly, my favorite are the wands. So on your tables in front of you, you got some wands, and I'm gonna tap this mic for a second. That's metal. That's not plastic, that's not junk, that's solid metal. And on the tip is a real quartz crystal with replaceable AAA batteries. All of those are important because number 1, it's not gonna break in 2 weeks. Number 2, you can replace the batteries. Number 3, your kid's gonna remember this. And chances are, they will have an opportunity to give it to their kids. That's something you're not gonna find with a Disney wand. So, what makes us different? We use, as I demonstrated, real non-plastic materials. Plastic is the plague. If I can avoid it, we want to stay out of it. In fact, in front of you, there's some pennants there with dragons and things like that. That's not plastic, that's hand-poured resin. Those are designs that I have done where I have poured the resin on those. That gives me a fantastic amount of flexibility to do a large number of items, but also make them unique and a little bit different. They're just, it resonates with people that when they pick it up, they go, this has some weight. Next is it's American made. I've got a company that I work with in Riverton, Wyoming, who I was introduced with Agterra. They are a fantastic company, Pertec, and they do electronics. They build computers and fax machines and things like that. With some of this money, strengthening that relationship, so instead of having to do small batches of these components, I can buy mass-produced components here in Wyoming. Not from China, not from New York, not from Colorado, but here in Wyoming, and strengthening that relationships. These aren't just American made, they're locally made. Affordable. That wand costs the same of what you'd spend on a Harry Potter wand. It's about $40, $45. But you get all of this other stuff with it. And then lastly, you have replaceable components. A big part of the industry, because they don't want to break the illusion, is that you can't replace the batteries. Disney doesn't want you to see, or other manufacturers don't want you to see the compartment where you can change the stuff. And that's great and all for the 5 minutes that you're holding it, but in a week, and your kid's going, the magic's gone, Dad. We strive to do both, to have replaceable components that you can use so that your kid continues to have those memories throughout the years. And that makes us a huge difference towards our competitors. Now, pricing. Man, I love this. This is what got me excited. So on this, some of the margins that you see here, for instance, that wand, one of our top sellers, it costs $7 to make. I sell it for $45. The little fairy light bottles that you see right there cost $1.25. I sell them for $17.50. My dice bag, which is sitting in the middle of the table, cost me $15, and I sell it for $55, $65, depending on the market. My margins are not just huge, they're enormous. And they allow me for growth. They allow me to hire salespeople. They allow me to hire marketing people. They allow me to hire additional builders here locally so that we can continue. Our plan to scale is just that. Within 3 to 6 months, we plan to hire additional builders, salespeople, and marketing people so that we can bring jobs here in town to Sheridan and grow that. Our projections have, over the past year, have been phenomenal in that I started off making maybe $100 a week. Then it was $300 a week. Now I'm grossing about $1,000 a week with that kind of margin. I've been doing this since May, actively engaged in my business, and my numbers have gone up and up and up. Despite a recession and a COVID market, we've continued to see growth. Some of the big differentiators are where we landed out in the timeline, and this is the biggest. Over here, I've got 4 game and fantasy resale shops. I acquired those last week. I walked into 4 shops, 1 in Rollins and 3 in Utah, and I said, hey, here's my stuff. And they said, where have you been my whole life? My customers would love this. We're not looking just for conventions. We're not looking just for Evermore and parks like that. We're not just looking for brick and mortar, but we're also doing online sales as well. Our package that ultimately we're getting to is to go into all markets that we can reach into. So that's where my funds are going to go. And with that is allowing me to do this even more affordably than what I'm doing right now. To get laser cutters, to get 3D printers, so that I can give me purchasing power, so I can buy things like glass bottles here in the United States in bulk rather than 36 at a time. That I can buy sheets of leather, of hide, here locally from Wyoming. That I can get these things and continue that manufacturing process, keep those dollars not just in the United States, but also in the Sheridan, Wyoming market, and grow my business with employees and marketing and sales and other design professionals as well. Thank you very much. The time is yours. My name is Jason Hodges with Wolfside of Crystal Necklaces.
Questions, maybe that side of the table. The microphone, if you have questions. Okay.
Thanks, Jason. Great presentation. You mentioned that a lot of these things you're selling at Evermore Park or possibly other parks as souvenirs. Have you done anything to personalize those, like a nameplate that goes on the back that says Evermore Park, so that when that person does take it home, they know it's from Evermore Park?
Absolutely. In fact, Evermore Park has contacted me as early as last week and said, we're coming into our Christmas season. We would love to do third-party branding. So if you can manufacture items for us, such as Christmas ornaments and things like that, and then they would sell them as Evermore branded items within their gift shop. So yes, absolutely. We have the capability of doing that. And such things such as 3D printer and laser cutters and things like that will make that even more or even easier to do that kind of thing. Even beyond that, things that people have purchased from me, such as staffs and wands and things like that, they then bring them back and have asked for additional customization, saying, hey, can you do this? Can you do that? Can you tweak this? My repeat customer market is astounding. I probably have at least 20% of my customers come back and say, we would love another custom piece from you. Can you do this? And so not just from a commercial level within the park side, but also on a personal level with our customers individually.
Great. I have two other questions, and I'll just ask them, then you can follow up with answering them. Number one was just how many line of products, or how many SKUs, how many different types of products are you making? How much do you have an idea of how much you want that to grow? You're making 10 products now, you have another 10 in the pipeline. And then after that, I'm gonna go ahead and sit down and let you answer the next one too, is can you talk a little bit about your online sales and your online strategy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Thanks, Jason.
Sure. So right now, I have about 10 to 12 products that I've developed and have cultivated. Some of the things that we're looking into that I get asked about a lot are custom 3D printed items for staffs and wands. They just take their wand and give it an extra little bit of a level to it. And so we're looking at a lot of different sleeves that may go over wands, so accessories for the existing items that I have. But in addition to that, we're looking into a lot of leather craft. A lot of the people that we play to really want like custom bracers, custom armor, custom pieces like that. The equipment such as laser cutters will allow us to expand on that, anywhere from 20 to 50 products based on that equipment. And then, gosh darn it, I
The next one was your online sales.
yeah, online sales. Thank you very much. Right now, our online sales have grown. Primarily, our avenue for generating sales has been heavily pounding Facebook myself. Getting on there and advertising, hey, I'm going to be at the park. Hey, here's some new items we have, things like that. Doing pre-orders for custom things. Doing pre-orders, I have these LED wings and all sorts of stuff. And that's been very, very successful. Ultimately, no, I know I can't do it myself. I need to hire staff. I need to hire a person that's over my manufacturing side, somebody who's over my marketing side. We really want to do ultimately a heavy push for online marketing, for social media type of advertising, so that we can drive traffic to our site. Right now it's Etsy. Ultimately, I'd like to do an off-branded one, so it's our own shop, but use a back-end engine. And then also get into stores like geekify.com and things like that, where we resell our products. We have enough margin that we can do that I can sell to a third-party reseller and have a pretty healthy balance even after that.
Other questions?
Either I did really good or really bad. Yeah.
Coming up to the microphone.
Yeah.
Challenging, so.
Yeah.
Jason, really exciting stuff, so thank you.
Thank you.
Just What is your average, I know you got 10 to 12 different SKUs, so
Yeah.
that means every product's gonna take a little bit of different amount of time to make it. What's your average build time, if you would, in terms of, getting something created? I was just curious about that. And then you talked about in your presentation that you want to hire some more people, and you've got some plans for scaling at that level.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, average pay, Sheridan's really pushing manufacturing, and part of what we're trying to do, obviously, is grow the Sheridan economy and this kind of opportunity for new businesses. So I'm just kind of curious what you're thinking about in terms of average pay for your builders in manufacturing.
Absolutely. One of the benefits of having done this for 2 years is I have my processes down really, really good. I know how to make these products and how to make them fast. In the business plan, which I included, part of my direct cost in there is build labor as well. So it's not just cost of raw materials for that $1.25 for the fairy light bottle, but that also includes labor. So to give you an example, on small items like this, these little fairy light bottles, I can build about 26 an hour. And they just zip by. It's a very Ford Motors assembly line kind of a process, and that allows me to pump them out very, very quickly and get to other products. Other things such as these wands, when I first made these, it took me approximately 3 hours to make this. I have it down to about 15 minutes. Cumulative time. Again, I do an assembly style process, but ultimately it comes down to about 15 minutes for the larger items. For the really custom pieces, such as these staves, they take me about 3 to 4 hours, depending on the amount of time of customization that goes into it. So there's a range. So fast products, 5 to 10 minutes. Medium products, you're talking about 15, 20 minutes. And then the larger pieces, you might take a few hours, but then you charge accordingly. And then you have the next part of the next question. Oh yeah. So I'm a big fan of what my daddy used to say was golden handcuffs. You want to make sure that you pay people not just fairly, but you want to give them a living wage. I don't want to just pay minimum wage. If I can start off my good labor, quality labor for 12, 13 bucks an hour to do assembly type of work, I want to do that. If I have the opportunity to grow them so they can start, man, I think there's a better way to do this, I want to reward them for that. But I also want to bring in other professionals such as designers. Again, I can't do everything. I can, but I don't have the time to do everything. So if I can bring in professionals such as CAD designers, guys who can do 3D printing, laser cutting, things like that, 3D modeling, want to bring in those types of individuals, but also those who have a strong sales and marketing background. I don't want to just hire a marketing firm to do what I want to do. I really want to have an in-house person who can do that, who can help with the website, who are multifaceted individuals. Working with one of the small businesses here in town, AgTerra, I've learned that something that's really good about a small company is that everybody wears a lot of hats, but they're very good at those hats. And by doing that, you pay people well, you treat them with respect, and your business is not only going to survive, it's going to thrive.
I guess I'll just go back to the online part of it.
I need you to be right in front of the mic.
Right from the mic. Okay. Is that more? Okay. Jason, I think I'll just go right back to the part of your online sales and marketing. Have you looked at Amazon or eBay for selling these, and why would you think not to? It just seems to me like that's a huge play that you're not missing out on yet, but you're about to. I mean, you have a huge opportunity with your Amazon, eBay, Etsy, your off-brand website too.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to answer that. So with Amazon, I'm actually already registered and ready to go. I just haven't done it yet because it's just me. I actually do have a couple of builders who already work for me, and I have an employee in Utah who mans the booth. In fact, he's manning it right now. Hey, Keegan. So he's doing that kind of work for me. Ultimately, once I kind of get a little additional capital, I really do want to push my registration that I already have with Amazon into a full-fledged store in there. eBay usually is going for like that, number 50 Superman signed kind of comic book. It's not. It's something that I would be interested in investigating, but typically in the industry that I'm selling to, if you're looking for something on eBay, it's usually secondhand. It's not first. It's not first resold. If there is a market and sales and marketing people can show me, hey, this is a viable market where we can put our energies into and get a good ROI, then I've got no problem with it. But it does come down to the ROI. Where are we going to put the limited dollars that we have right now into that kind of thing? Amazon is a fantastic choice and something I'm already looking at. eBay could be if I can see the appropriate numbers for this industry.
I would just add one more thing. I think you're doing great, and you're on a very fast trajectory. And depending on how much, I think all you need is help.
Yeah.
I think you've got the right products. You're doing this great, and you're headed straight up. So
Thank you.
great work, and hope we can continue helping.
I appreciate that.
Okay, other questions?
I got one last little thing. Thank you, Don Hodges, my wife.
Jason, thank you. Of Iter Arnhem, and it is a very innovative pickup truck rack system. I think you're going to be very interested in hearing what he has to say. Welcome, Jared.
All right, hello everybody. Again, my name is Jared Koenig from Iter Arnhem. And a quick note about the name Iter Arnhem. It is a creative take on the Latin words for route and armor. And for me, that is kind of a constant reminder. What steps can we take to make Wyoming stronger? And one of those steps is the Adventure Rack. And the Adventure Rack, that name is a placeholder name for the time being. Still working on that? So what is the problem? The problem here is that people want to haul a wide range of different gear and accessories for their outdoor adventures, and they're not particularly equipped to do so. So we have the results of that are cargo that is difficult to access, or cargo that is damaged because of improper loading and transportation, as well as vehicle damage that could occur from that as well. And it also creates a safety hazard for the driver as well as everybody else on the road. So the solution here is for the Iter Arnhem rack, the Adventure Rack. Yep. So the answer is a lightweight, modular, and customizable overland rack that fits on a truck. And so right here we have, this is prototype version number 2 on my truck, and that's outside right now. So what can you haul with this? So you can haul bikes, canoes, kayaks, rooftop tents, cargo baskets, water packs, fuel cells, traction pads, off-road recovery gear, and the list goes on. Again, here we've got my truck with prototype version number 1 on it. And over the summer, I did a lot of testing and functionality testing and stress testing with this prototype number 1. And I'm an avid kayaker, so I've got a lot of kayaking that I do and testing that I did with that in that area. So I've said the term overlanding a couple times. So what does the term overlanding mean? And so overlanding is the practice of exploring the backcountry in a purpose-built vehicle. Usually it's high clearance and 4-wheel drive that allows the user to be self-sufficient for a period of several days to a period of several weeks. Right. And so what does that overlanding market look like? And so the overlanding market is essentially vehicle accessories, and those accessories fall into 3 categories. It is interior and exterior accessories, as well as suspension components, and then there's wheels and tires. So this fits into the exterior accessory category. And so we can see here 8 out of 10 vehicles that are accessorized are trucks, SUVs, and crossover vehicles as well. And so that aftermarket market is worth $12 billion in 2018. 27% of that market alone went to upgrading and outfitting brand new trucks. So it is a large portion of that market. And so here we can see, here's another picture of prototype version number 2 on my truck with a bunch of bikes over the tailgate. If you wanted to haul those bikes with a normal overland rack, you couldn't. The rear crossbar prevents you from stacking bikes on the tailgate, and there's a limited cargo capacity. Same thing with the kayaks. If you wanted to haul these kayaks and these bikes at the same time, you couldn't do it with a normal overland rack, but with the adventure rack you can. You can take off that rear crossbar, drop as many bikes in as you want. All right. And so for the market trends, we can look at the largest automakers and get a cue from them and what they're doing. So for the past 40 plus years, the #1 selling vehicle in the United States is the Ford F-150 pickup truck. And as a result, they make a Raptor, the F-150 Raptor, which is a purpose-built off-road vehicle. And they have recently relaunched the Bronco. Dodge is also following suit with their purpose-built off-road truck called the Ram Rebel. Dodge has surpassed Chevy, or General Motors, as the #2 truck seller in America right now, possibly because Dodge is hitting that outdoor market and Chevy is not. And so we also see the Jeep Gladiator that was recently released, as well as the other Jeep SUVs that are on the market. And then up top here we have the Nikola Badger, and that is another part of the automotive market that is very interesting. There are over 10 electric trucks slated for release within the next year or so. And out of that 10, 7 of those are brand new companies. The first product they will make is a pickup truck, no cars. So that's the trends that are happening in the automotive industry right now. And so what that tells us, next slide. So the market potential, the outdoor market, or the exploring of the outdoors, has been given a great boost by a lot of social media over the past several years, and I think we all noticed these last several months, we've all wanted to get outside a bunch more, and we have seen a direct impact of that here up on the mountains. It's been crowded, it's tough finding a place to go camp and such, so the interest in the outdoors is increasing. The overland market, which you can call that the global adventure tourism market, was $586 billion in 2019 alone, and that is expected to double in the next 5 years alone. So it's a rapidly growing market. And another trend to notice is that cars are disappearing. Ford no longer makes a sedan or a coupe. The smallest vehicle that you can buy from them is a crossover, and that's indicative of the market shifting towards more capable off-road vehicles. And so who are the customers? The customers that attended and took a survey at the Overland Expo. So the Overland Expo is a open to the public trade show that it specifically focuses on overland gear. So 60% of the attendees indicated that they have an annual income over $80,000, 30% an annual income over $150,000. So needless to say, the people that are actively seeking out these products have the money to pay for them. All right, so what are the benefits to Wyoming? So the 2018 Endow report indicated that tourism and recreation is one of the 5 focus industries here in Wyoming, and this fits in perfectly to that. Another benefit is that Wyoming citizens can go out and buy a Wyoming product to go explore the Wyoming outdoors. Right now, that's not the most, that's not the easiest thing to do right now because of the scarcity of Wyoming-made products. Another benefit is having a direct access to the customers that are involved in these outdoor activities. That way we can foster the types of discussions and sustainable behavior that will allow everyone to enjoy our outdoor spaces for generations to come. All right. And so what does the competition look like? So the competition, when it comes to customization, immediately when you purchase, there is usually no customization at all offered. What I want to do is offer customization options so that you can purchase and put together a rack that fits your exact needs right out of the gate. Competition, because of their limited design and inability to reconfigure the rack, there is a limited cargo capacity. Say if you wanted to haul a fridge in the back of your truck with this overland rack, you would have to completely remove the rack.
Sure, I just got a message that people can't hear you.
Do you want to flip that mic around?
Jesus, stick that mic
How
here.
do we do that?
All right, can you hear me now? Okay, hopefully you can hear me now. So the competition has a limited design that can limit the amount of cargo that you can haul with your vehicle. So if you wanted to, say, haul a fridge and you had a normal overland rack on your truck, you would have to completely remove and store that rack so you could haul that fridge and then completely put it back on when you're finished. Now with the Adventure Rack, you can remove the crossbars, load up the fridge, and then put the crossbars back into the configuration that you intended to have them when you're finished without having to completely disassemble the entire unit. Some of the other competition also requires you to drill holes in your brand new truck to mount this rack. And I, for one, do not intend to ask anybody to drill holes in the brand new $60,000 truck. And then one of the other drawbacks that the competition has is that their price is high for the limited usage that you get out of the rack. So with this Adventure Rack that's reconfigurable, I intend to offer a product that has more capabilities but is the same price or cheaper. All right, so we can go on to the next. So for the product development for the prototype, I initially earmarked around $6,500 for prototyping of the core unit. Spent around $3,500 so far, and out of that I've gotten 2 full prototypes. Prototype number 1 was completely made out of aluminum. Prototype number 2 was aluminum, but also had several 3D printed components. And I've learned a lot putting together those 2 prototypes, and prototype number 3, which I am currently designing right now, is going to be the best of both worlds. All right. So here we see the revenue projection. Obviously in 2020 there is no revenue because haven't sold any units yet. We still have to finish prototyping. So once we finish prototyping at the end of this year, beginning of next year, in 2021, start to show some sales. I've showed an average of around 2 racks per week sold for the year. In 2022, I estimate around 4 per week sold, and then for 2023, 9 per week sold as we gain a little bit more market acceptance and the product starts to take off. During that time, we will be bringing in more of the work in-house to save more money and make a more affordable product for the customers. So what does that mean for employee growth? So in 2021, it started out with 1.5 employees. Mainly what that's going to be is that's going to be marketing, sales, and customer contact, as well as assembly and shipping of the product. In 2022 and 2023 is bring on more employees. That indicates where I'm bringing work in-house that I was normally having subcontracted, like the welding and the painting. So bring more of that in-house over time. All right. And so the timeline to production and sales. So here at the end of 2020, I want to finish prototyping for the core unit and then start the initial customer connection, which is the creation of a website, but also partnering with local install shops and dealers to get more customer access. 2021, I'm hoping to get my first sales booked by February, and then starting on production and moving along from there. Hopefully getting into a space so I can do my work and store all of my products. And then after that, I would like to, once I start getting some revenue coming in, I intend to fully start prototyping on some accessories that go with this. Say it's like cargo boxes, cargo baskets, as well as like a canvas soft topper as well. All right. And so here's a rendering that shows prototype version number 2, and this is one of the main reconfiguration designs that has been requested by customers. And so what those two things are is they want to be able to free up bed space without completely disassembling the rack, and you can see that in image number 4. And the other thing is that they want to move the load either above the roof line or below the roof line, and you can see that in images 1 and 2. And so that's what the removable and reconfigurable cross members allows you to do with this rack.
Just number 1, what's the purpose of number 1?
So number 1 shows the crossbars taken off the top and mounted underneath instead. That you could mount your bikes there, or depending on what you want to haul. Say there's a rooftop basket there, and one of the main design reasons for that is to say you have a rooftop basket and it's sitting up above the roof line, and it screws up your gas mileage. So you'd want to relocate that below the roof line to maintain better gas mileage, or if you don't want a lot of wind and debris, bugs hitting whatever you're hauling up there. And so for my business to be successful in a timely fashion, I will need additional capital for the following items: prototyping to finish the core unit, marketing, obviously, for online marketing, online advertisements, as well as attendance to trade shows and expos, website creation for the initial customer fulfillment and whatnot, and then the materials for the initial orders. And then, thank you. Do you have any questions?
Jared, thank you very much. Okay, questions?
So you're planning on just doing direct sales through a website, and then have you thought beyond that in terms of wholesale or anything else?
So yes, initially I'd like to do initial sales through a website, as well as sales through, say, dealerships, where the dealerships display and mount these products for the customers, as well as specific install shops. That's all they do, is install these aftermarket components. Eventually I'd like to build the website up to have a very useful customization tool, so you can select all of the components that you would like to integrate into the rack that you would like to buy, and it shows you a rendering immediately of what you're going to get, so that you know what you're going to get, you know what it's going to look like, and you can plan ahead for all of your adventuring needs.
I'm not sure I've got this on. The light flickered, so we'll see. But I know from last year that you're involved in 3D printing for sure, and you mentioned some of the components being 3D printing. But the aluminum fabrication, is that something you're doing locally yourself as well, or are you sourcing that locally? I'm just curious how you're handling that.
Yeah, so for the first prototype, I have I've only ever done MIG welding on steel, and so I do not know how to do aluminum welding. So for prototype number 1, I learned how to do TIG welding, and I put that together myself with the help of my father. He helped out quite a lot. He let me use his shop space and his equipment. So I had to learn to do that, but the truth is, I'm not a good welder, and so I fully intend to have somebody else do the welding. Second prototype, I had somebody here in town do that welding for me, and going forward, I fully intend to have somebody else do the welding for me as well.
You mentioned prototype 1, 2, and then you're looking at 3. Can you kind of explain what you've changed from 1 to 2, and then if you'd like to talk about what you're looking at, how to improve on 3?
Yeah, so prototype number 1 had the removable cross members. However, you couldn't reattach them in any other configuration. So it allowed for the addition of extra cargo, or the reconfiguration of cargo, but it did not allow for the reconfiguration of the rack to allow for more reconfiguration of the cargo. So prototype number 1 was not as modular as I had originally intended, but it did allow for me to, say, carry a lot of bikes along with my other adventuring gear. So prototype number 2 has a lot of 3D printed components, and those components, what prototype number 2 was, what I was intending to learn from that is, what can I get away with these 3D printed parts? How much stress and weight can I put on them before they, they're no longer functioning, or they don't function as intended? And so that's what I learned, and still am learning from prototype number 2. And so that's why prototype number 3 is going to have fewer 3D printed parts for the core component, but those 3D printed parts work really well for accessory attachments and various other things such as vibration dampening as well.
For the different truck models, does each truck model need to use something different, or is it mostly universal? And then on top of that, how many pieces are included in each setup? It seems like there's some joints is basically the most important part. So how many of those joints, or whatever you call them, need to be printed, and then how long does it take to print those? Talk about that process.
Yeah, so like I was saying, with prototype number 3 is going to have fewer 3D printed components, specifically because of their lack of usability and their lack of rigidity to make a solid core unit. So I'm using a lot more, aluminum construction in that original core design. The 3D printed parts, the reason that I am going with fewer 3D printed parts for prototype number 3, another reason is that they're expensive at this time, but even though they're expensive, it still costs a lot less than the initial investment required for injection molding to produce those parts. So that gets me to the point of 3D printing, where 3D printing allows me to create different designs and different setups immediately based on my parametric model that I've created for the design. So I can go to any truck, measure any of the, measure the box, measure the width of the box, the height of the cab, and put those measurements into my design, and immediately it changes the design and shows me everything I need. So I'll be able to print up the parts for off-brand vehicles at the same rate I will be able to print them up for the major vehicle brands.
So like the F-150, you've got different box lengths, but in general it stays the same?
Yeah, in general, there will be the various box lengths, the 5.5, 6.5, and 8-foot box lengths, and the components that will be the same will be the components that are that span the width of the vehicle. Most of the cross members are all going to be the same size, so that the cross members from one vehicle will fit on another vehicle, so that I can get ahead of the game in manufacturing those and have a stockpile of those put together. And the only custom parts needed to be made are the side rail pieces that attach directly to the truck.
And can you also talk about the cost or what your selling point is looking for on these?
Yeah, so competition sells these products for around between $1,500 and $2,000 for a good usable overland rack. And so I'm intending to get right around that price point hopefully on the lower end, so I can beat them out on price. But what was the other? Okay, yeah, that was it.
Could you just expound a little bit on the stress testing, the vibration dampening, what you've kind of found with the 3D printing and how long it lasts and what your kind of testing process with that is?
Yeah, so for the stress testing, the functionality testing, ultimately I have to know that this, the rack will hold together when you are off-roading, going over rough terrain with a heavy load. So that testing has been, how much weight can I put on here before it starts to sway on the highway and just regular road usage, and then as well as how much weight can we put on here in off-road conditions and it still holds up. And so the 3D printed parts specifically not strong enough to put together the core, and so I will be doing a lot more aluminum for that.
Jared, you mentioned accessories, going to market with some accessories, which I love the idea of canvas soft topper. I think there's a great amount of versatility or use for that down the road as well. But I was just curious on the design where you don't have to drill holes. How does it connect to the body of the truck?
Yeah, so where it connects to the truck is it's aluminum angle, and there are camper or topper type clamps that clamp it onto the side of the bed. The same way you'd attach a normal topper.
Okay, perfect. Then the last question was, can this be patented? I'm curious.
So I am looking into that. There are parts of it that I know that I can't patent, but the 3D printed parts, I am looking into that. Unfortunately, the 3D printing legal world is a little bit strange since it is a new technology and it allows for some wild things. All right. Well, thank you everybody for taking the time today.
Jared Koenig. Very much.
Thank
All right.
you.
So give us a couple of minutes for changeover. We're on to presentation number 3. Ready for presentation number 3. So this is Scott McDowell, and I believe Aaron Shradlin is on the phone. They are the founders of SSI Virtual Sand Table. And so, Scott, go ahead and take it away. And you have
movie when we're ready? All right. Well, thank you. I'm Scott McDowell. I'm the business director manager here for SSI in Wyoming. And on the phone with me is Aaron Sheridan. He is the founder of Virtual Sandtable SSI. And there's all right, so let's start with what is a sand table. A sand table is a method that soldiers have used in the field for mission planning. Typically, they stand around a pile of dirt. They're out in the field using sticks to draw, rocks to place obstacles or avoidance or blocks and different items to indicate different items or different areas or different terrain or different obstacles. Our product provides unique visualization of an environment and critical information for planning and preparation. So we take that sand table and we virtualize it. And we do that by mapping. Typically we use a drone to fly over an area. We digitize that terrain using various data sources. A drone is one. We can use satellite imagery. We can use other sensors on those overhead flying entities. We then render that data. We collect it all, process it through a custom-built computer designed for 3D modeling and rendering, and then experience that. The digital environment becomes available to experience through multiple sources. We can play that back through mobile devices, traditional 2D computer display, but the most immersive experience is using 3D and virtual reality. So our product captures and visualizes dense data over large areas of operation to encourage clear decisions. What we're doing here is an example of flying a consumer drone. We have pre-programmed a flight path to ensure full coverage of that area. And then once it's processed, wearing VR goggles, we can then display that and this is our product.
Okay, and we've got, okay.
So you'll recognize this, Sheridan College, as we fly over the primary entrance here. You see the dome in the background. And as we fly over this, we transition into our digital model. We flew this area not too long ago and generated a virtual map. This is all digital capture of Sheridan College, over 25 acres placed in our virtual sand table. This is a 2D rendering of it. This is a construction project here in town. This is Kennan. You can see we've captured earth movers in process. This is Bighorn School. Flew over that. This is all a generated model based on actual photography, actual photos. We can go back.
Okay. Okay, it's fine.
So our product, initially developed for and trusted by various branches of the Department of Defense through Virtual Sandtable, has now been adapted for innovative and commercial applications through SSI. Through the use of our platform, we are able to employ empathy, a true understanding of the situation and the environment, an experience, intuitive and natural movement, with virtual reality in 3D. We're able to educate, again, through this immersive experience in a consequence-free environment. Exploration, as you move through this terrain, you're able to see different angles, different perspectives, and different opportunities. Efficiency, improve human performance, minimize error, increase accuracy. SSI is an acronym, and it gives us, our vision is for 3 different markets. We've got Safer Schools Initiative, Safer Spaces Initiative, and the Save Scenes Initiative. For Safer Schools, we're equipping first responders and school faculty for emergency response. This is school safety and compliance. Safer Spaces, construction projects, as you saw in Kenan. We've got power generation, which provides, they have safety and compliance. City planning. For example, the power generation, safety planning, security response, they have requirements with the Department of Homeland Security. Save scenes. This is a very interesting one as we look at an accident scene, for example. In the event of a collision or something that requires photographic evidence, right now that's captured either with a picture or with drawing or with with kind of basic tools. And being able to capture that scene in detail later to be recalled, that can be used for evidence, scene recreation, expert testimony. Also for saved scenes, we're able to create a digital twin of property. For example, a house or a building, able to capture a full exterior to allow an insurance company to properly quote or more accurately quote, understand those risks that can be referenced in the event of a claim for that point in time before an incident happened. Should a tree fall over or branch land, there's an understanding of that risk prior to that there was some overhanging trees or that there was risk, and then also being able to capture that after the fact. That feature can be enhanced by bringing that interior scanning. So this is not just exterior scanning. We talked about a little bit about what a scene recreation might look like, or a capture, or what an evacuation plan might be. In this case, we're used to seeing something on the wall that says, here's your emergency exit route. But what we've found is that by immersing yourself in that experience, by virtually walking that route, by being in that scene with virtual reality, that imprint is more profound. An example would be as we transition from paper maps to like Google Maps, when we're trying to think, how do I get to the store prior to GPS, we used to look for how do I get there and try and remember those things. And when they added Street View, it gave another dimension to that ability to recall. And so you see, oh, here's the sign. This is the same concept, but applied for multiple different verticals here. So immersion creates an information imprint more easily recalled during emergency scenarios or stressful times. For collaboration, we've got understanding for all stakeholders. textures. This is photorealistic. Digitized assets can be used for future use and recalled. Mobile users can take to the field routes, plans, and visualization. Our pricing model right now is based on some pilot programs. This is for an early adopter pilot program pricing. We've got software and service that goes with that, deploying the software, deploying the experience. With the service is training and planning expertise, a compliance package, the ability to digitize inside and out. Right now, we're in the first stages of reaching out for pilot programs. We've identified a couple of willing participants and continuing to follow up with that. These are some of the details of what we anticipate that looking like. This is an estimate based on a school estimate. There's some similar technology, or not technology, sorry, there's some similar pricing for training models in the school markets. And we bring significantly more value than just what one of the providers brings. In fact, they would actually, example would be Alice training. Alice's active shooter response. And it would be something that we could bring with that and partner with them to enhance that training. For our milestones, right now, we've got 2 employees, Aaron Sheridan, myself. As we look to grow in 2021, we would be looking to add a trainer and a deployment specialist and software development. As we look to 2022, we would anticipate adding another deployment specialist and sales support. Our immediate timeline, so we talked about pilot programs, and this represents some of our verticals here. School, we've already been in contact with a couple of the districts. We've also gotten some interesting traction with the state superintendent and their interest in our project. Our construction pilot, that would be in 2021. And we talked about an event pilot. This would be something like Frontier Days. Some of the folks we've been talking with are specific around that kind of event planning and being able to properly place and prepare an event like that. All of these would be in Wyoming. Then any awarded funds would go towards our pilot programs, people, equipment, and software. Thank you.
Scott Waddell, thank you very much. All right.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, judges, questions?
Scott, can you maybe just, you explained it to us previously, but maybe for our other viewers, let's just take the school scenario.
Yes.
And how that works, like what you guys actually do. Oh, yeah, go ahead and take it from there.
Yes. So the school scenario is an opportunity for us to, like that Bighorn school that you saw, or Sheridan College, there is training that is required to be compliant for the schools, for safety, for emergencies, for evacuation. And as schools hire and bring on staff, there's a requirement to ensure that staff is fully trained in where to be and what to do. Our we have experts on retainer that can bring that planning and then also develop best practices and then run through those scenarios virtually
Virtual headset.
with the headset. And you can have a teacher or have a staff member go through and validate that they know where the fire poles are. Validate that they know where the first emergency exit is. And if that emergency exit is now unavailable, they're able to redirect.
Could you talk a little bit of the function of the construction site? Because it seems like a lot of it is training people from what it already is. What would be the use of flying a construction site, creating a virtual reality of it, and then tomorrow the construction site has hopefully changed if it hasn't snowed a foot on it already?
That's great. So what's the value of the construction site?
I can handle that one if you like, Scott.
I would love for you to answer that one. The construction site is a fun one. Go for it.
So a construction site is unique from the standpoint of before construction starts, you need to make certain that the buyer is on the same page as the seller. And oftentimes that's not the case, and you get about $5 into the construction before you realize you've created a $500,000 mistake 4 or 5 weeks down the road. So that's the preemptive portion of the construction. However, once the construction goes, what we do know is that something always goes wrong. And oftentimes the professional that can make the decisions to get things back on track quickly is not accessible through normal means. If you can simply scan the site, toss that professional that may be across the country into VR where they can see and understand the problem more vividly, they can advise, provide remote instruction, and then things can continue on with their expert information to get things back on track. So those are two simple, high-value examples of how you could leverage this into construction out.
Thank you, Aaron.
Thank you. Scott, so help me understand, I apologize, I missed the semifinal presentations, but the pricing is roughly for early pilot program pricing is $20,000 per installation. What I want to understand is the product itself. Is it what's proprietary? Is it software that you guys have developed that does this, or is it the service side itself? Help me understand what the product in itself is.
Yes. So there's a question about the product and about what's proprietary and what is the secret sauce.
Understood. So there's a couple things that we have going on the software side that's patented as well as the hardware. Did I understand correctly? You were wondering how that software and service rolls out. Can you clarify that a little bit?
Really just, Scott, I think hit the nail on the head with what is the secret sauce? Is it service or is it software? Are you selling a proprietary software program that you've developed and therefore that makes it unique maybe in the industry, or is it more a combination of the service itself and the software is, I hate to use the word off the shelf, but something that anyone else could also use?
It's both, for sure. The ability to describe and showcase the terrain and the problems is, a software and a service in itself. But being able to bring the experts to locations that they would normally not be able to get to is definitely part of the service. And being able to provide, like say for instance, if we were to scan a school, right now when you do your ALICE training, that's basically all that you get out of it. In our particular case, there's a whole bunch of positive ramifications for the insurance companies to understand that each person knows where a fire pool is. Each person knows where the evacuation routes are. And when a new student or new teacher or new faculty comes into that arrangement, we can quickly bring them up to compliance. And this is something that is a problem that is ignored currently in every other method. So I would say that it's probably 15% software solution, and that is going to be closer to an off-the-shelf thing, and it's going to be our shelf that it's coming from. And we're really going to focus on the service aspect to make certain we're multiplying the value. Over.
Thank you, Aaron.
And just to that point, have you spoken with insurance companies already? Are you pretty sure that they're a big supporter of this? And
That is a great question, and we have just teed up some conversations that are pretty exciting.
I guess my follow-up question to that would be, are you selling this already? I mean, are you actively selling it? If yes, great. How come you only have 2? And if no, what's going to take you to get to the point where I think in 2021 you projected having this out to 40 different users?
Correct. So this is a twofold product. Virtual Sand Table is the Department of Defense-based software, and that has seen significant traction. SSI is a brand new entity that is bringing that into a consumer market. We have been doing outreach and market research and been talking with a lot of programs where we would like to pilot. One of the difficulties that we found in the schools is a lack of students attending them up until possibly recently. A lot of schools shut down, and that really created a barrier. Was that?
Yeah, just what takes you from 2 schools to 40 schools, or 2 users to 40 users in the next year?
A pilot that answers the questions that we have. We're looking for guidance on pricing. We're looking for guidance on value. And by piloting this with that early adopter pricing, they get to influence that product going forward. We get to hear from HR. We get to hear from the technology department. We get to hear from the safety officers. And as we hone that, this will be deployed statewide. We will demonstrate that value, and it will be within this state, and then it will branch from there on out. We have seen that value in the Department of Defense with traction for planning and emergencies and preparation and the value it provides. And we know that we can bring that into a consumer market.
If I can add to that, Scott.
Yes, please.
Briefly. So what we also have noticed with our successes inside the DoD space is that oftentimes those individuals who are operating in high capacity and special operations forces, they end up heading to SWAT teams, and they end up all across the country. And the solutions that provided value to them, that saved their life and got them home safe, they're likely to employ in their travels elsewhere. So part of our marketing team are the very people that will be retiring soon from DoD. Over.
So your plan is to start in Wyoming with the civilian or consumer application, or are you looking to start nationally in multiple spots?
We want to pilot this local here in Wyoming, and we're looking for those locations. We've got interest from Sheridan College. We've got some other school districts that are interested. We're talking with a number of folks here in Wyoming as the pilot. We feel like that's an important place. We intend to invest here in Wyoming, but we're not going to limit ourselves to it. We feel that once those pilots, we hone this product through those pilots, that this will easily transfer to other states and other school districts.
One more question. All right. And I have to apologize if I'm getting all of our applicants confused, but was your organization or business a recipient of an SBIR grant?
Correct.
Okay. What is that? Is that related to, you had kind of three initiatives, I guess the school, construction, and event. Is it geared towards is it geared towards schools? Is it geared towards emergency responders? What's the purpose of the grant? And how are those dollars going to
I
be
can field
used
this one.
as opposed to how
Yeah.
you consider maybe using the funding here for people, equipment, and software?
Go ahead, Aaron.
So the SBIR itself came from DoD for the implementation of everything that we were doing for people who were mostly ground-based. And we received that $1.5 million to change the software, or add the software, rather augment to the software the tools necessary for people who were air-based or air-focused, providing close air support. That money was provided to the company for that reason, and the Wyoming Business Council matched to a small fraction of that amount a grant to start or initiate the SSI business here. So those funds were initially intended to be applied to school services, as that was supposed to be our initial beachhead, and then COVID, like a lot of other things, provided a brief pause for us. And during that pause, we were active, understanding some of the other verticals that we could potentially move forward with in the absence of participation of schools for the moment. So now with schools started back up, we've started to capture the attention of those who were once interested and revitalize that and move forward, which is why we have both Sheridan College and the Bighorn School scanned, and hopefully soon also Jackson, Wyoming.
Thank you. Aaron, good job. Thanks for being remote for us, and appreciate all of you. Also, all the sponsors, the hosts, everyone who made this happen for us to be able to present. It's an incredible honor. Thank you for selecting us to be a finalist, and appreciate your time this evening.
Scott, thank you very much. Really appreciate what you and Aaron put together. Okay, we're going to have about a 2-minute changeover, and we're going to be on to our next presenter, number 4. Okay, we are ready with presentation number 4. This is Papa Joe's Produce. We have Joe and Adam from Papa Joe's. Welcome, Joe and Adam.
Hi, I'm Joe Westmitzer, founder, owner, operator of Papa Joe's Produce.
And I'm Adam Bunker, the operations manager and director of Fancy Words for Papa Joe's Produce.
We grow year-round leafy greens for the most part, plus some in-ground seasonal products. We have two year-round greenhouses that we grow hydroponically, about 8 to 10 varieties of lettuce, kale, Swiss chard, basil. We're now trialing some peppers and some other herbs. We also create a lot of handcrafted, artisanal, homemade products that we sell at farmers markets and a new store across the street here, which is a year-round, weekly farmers market store, basically. And then we have about 3,000 square feet of covered high tunnels that we grow seasonal crops in: tomatoes, cucumbers, peppers.
All right, so in terms of our value proposition, what is it that we're bringing to the community, that we're offering to our customers? Our products are basically, they're handcrafted, homemade, artisanal quality products. We are not trying to compete with the bottom dollar produce that's in the grocery store. The next three things that are on this slide behind me are kind of all tied in together, but the freshness is really the big thing. I mean, we're harvesting our lettuce sometimes the day of farmer's market, if not just the day before. That's the most it ever is, as opposed to what you might be getting from a grocery store or some of our bulk supply customers who are getting it from a different bulk supply company where it's been in storage and then transport. And what ends up happening with produce is the longer it sits, it loses both taste and actual nutritional value because a lot of vitamins and minerals are water soluble. So that lettuce you pick up from the grocery store might look nice and crisp, but it's actually lost a lot of the nutritional value along the way. So the fact that our produce is fresh actually makes it healthier and more nutritious for you. And of course, we are local. That's kind of the whole point of growing it here. And a lot of our customers engage with us simply because of that. They really want to support both a local business and specifically a local ag producer. Our target market, in terms of kind of who we're looking to reach, this is our target for primarily our phase 1 growth that we're in. And it's essentially Sheridan County, although we do also already have a retail outlet in Buffalo that we're partnered with. So coming back to kind of what it is that we're selling, as much as we would love to sell to every household out there, that's simply not the case. We know we're selling a premium product, and our customers are the folks who are willing to pay the premium for that. So when we look at households in Sheridan County, if we say, okay, let's look at how many make $50,000 a year or more, that's about 7,400 households. When we combine that with data on consumer spending, then we can tell that that's an average of $344 a year per household on fresh vegetables, which means that our annual market just in Sheridan County is about $2.5 million a year on fresh vegetables. Now, it's not on this slide, but the number for Wyoming, for statewide, as we do start to expand and go into a broader market, is $80 million a year on fresh vegetables. So there's quite a bit of money going around there. We have 3 main sales channels right now. We have our direct sales, which is basically farmers markets and the folks who are willing to just call and come out to the farm. We have wholesale or retail, which is where we are bagging up our produce and then reselling it through another party. We're in several locally owned grocery stores here and in Buffalo, and then we also are doing some bulk sales to restaurants. Now, part of what's up behind me that you'll see in these tables here is, as we look to our growth strategy for phase 2, which is 2023, if it's all self-funded, much faster if we win, then what we want to do is increase the number of customers within each of those sales channels. But we're also planning to diversify our crops, which means that we can then sell additional products to those customers we already have. So we're going to also capture more of their dollar. So while our customers within each channel may double, that's kind of our target, except for the restaurants goes up a little more, we're actually looking to triple our overall revenue from each of those channels. Competitors. Joe?
Our closest competitor in what we do right now is in Grable. It's Grable Valley Produce, and they do mainly leafy greens as well, and they service pretty much the entire Bighorn Basin with what they're doing. Some of their product does come over here. The other competitors are the Food Service of America trucks, the Cisco's that deliver to restaurants and grocery stores. With that, their product has been on the truck for who knows how long, a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. Our stuff is usually consumed within a week or so. So they've lost a lot of nutritional value and taste and texture by them not getting that produce to us in a timely manner.
And as you can see, so there's a picture. This is not our lettuce. We want to just be very clear about that. This one is our lettuce. This is actually a picture that we took in our own greenhouse just with my phone, not even a good camera. So that illustrates right there more what our differentiators are. We already covered a lot of these, so I won't go into too much detail, but basically we're a year-round producer, we're local, and just the taste and texture of having fresh lettuce like this as opposed to something that's been in a bag for 2 weeks is just undescribable until you try it. One of the things that we believe is kind of our part of our value proposition in the big picture is the alignment of local producers with the state Endow initiative, with economic diversification. Sustainable harvest or sustainable agriculture is one of the key building blocks of that 20-year strategy. And so when we look at that, I'm going to look at this for a moment just so I can tell you, what it says. One of the goals is to capture value-added premiums and help create producer-owned cooperative businesses. We own our operation. This is not some big ag that's being managed by an out-of-state company buying up Wyoming land. One of the other things is investing research into how Wyoming can boost the agriculture economy sustainably in terms of the resources that we have. So Wyoming, water is a big deal, right? Especially this year, water was a really big deal. Even though we're growing hydroponically, we are actually more efficient than traditional in-ground farming because we have closed-loop systems operating or watering all of our crops. So we're recycling that water constantly and basically just have to replenish whatever water the plants use as opposed to water that's lost to the ground. Here's some examples on our product pricing. So our lettuce, we typically sell to the customer roughly an 8-ounce bag of lettuce. That's kind of about what you might get from the grocery store. We sell that bag for $5. It costs us $2.50 in materials and labor to produce that. Now, that gives us enough of a margin that when we're reaching out to wholesale partners, we can offer them a pretty hefty discount to make it worthwhile, and we're still going to make a profit on that bag. In terms of comparing this to other products, if our lettuce is a lot more than what you might spend on, again, that just very basic lettuce mix in the grocery store, but if you look at a premium organic pre-made lettuce, or excuse me, salad mix, those are going for roughly 70 cents an ounce, and we price our lettuce at between 60 and 65 cents an ounce. So even there, we're within competition of some of those grocery store premium products. Our infused olive oil is another one of our most famous, most popular products. That one costs us about $8.60 per bottle to produce. We sell it for $15. So again, a pretty hefty margin there, and you can see why, as we get into our expansion plans, why value-added products are one of our biggest areas to expand on. So our plan to scale, how are we going to grow this? Right now, we operate 2 greenhouses. It employs about 1.75 FTE. This year, we're looking to end the year at about $40,000 in gross revenue, but we learned a lot this year operating our second greenhouse for the first time. The efficiency in there is going to increase significantly with the lessons we've learned. So looking to next year, we're bringing on now a 3rd greenhouse that's already under construction, and that's going to, our overall revenue is going to increase significantly. We're also targeting about $10,000 a year in value-added product sales and bringing on at least 1 other part-time employee. Now there's a big jump here that I want to call some attention to. So Greenhouse 4 on the slide behind me shows 2023. This is what we're going after Startup Challenge funding for, is because after Greenhouse 3, everything through Greenhouse 3 has been owner funded. After that, the business is going to fund future expansion. Our goal would be 1 greenhouse a year, but it's going to take probably 2 years to then raise the capital to build greenhouse number 4. Once we build greenhouse number 4, that is really that critical mass point for us, where after that, we can fund 1 greenhouse a year just from our revenue. So if we can get startup funding to bridge that gap and bring Greenhouse 4 online in 2022 or even late 2021, then this timeline speeds up significantly. A couple of other things just in these numbers behind me. On the 2023 numbers, that $170,000 gross revenue, that includes about $40,000 a year in value-added products. And by 2030, the end of the decade, that $530,000 includes about $80,000 a year in value-added products. So we are looking to ramp that up significantly. Phase 1, in terms of where we're at and how we're getting there, one of the biggest things we needed to do was expand our capacity over the last year. That's why we built another greenhouse and focused on lettuce as our main product. Second thing is that our single biggest operating cost outside of labor is electrical costs. So we invested in building a 30,000 kilowatt hours per year system that has significantly reduced those and is actually oversized for what we're using so that it will continue to make a difference even through Greenhouse 3. The last part of Phase 1 that we're in progress on is building this Greenhouse 3 that's going to have R&D systems for us to really test out what crop diversification looks like, what crops are going to work best for our systems, so that when we're looking at Greenhouse 4 and 5, we know we've already learned those lessons on a small scale instead of what we're doing right now, learning them on a big scale. Phase 2, this is Greenhouses 4 and 5. Where most of that will still be sold locally within Sheridan County, but it will start to saturate that market. So we're going to need to start looking at some regional sales. Again, diversifying the crops will be key so that we can capture a bigger share of our customer spend as opposed to recruiting that many new customers. We need to promote our wholesale and retail outlets, make sure people know where they can actually go get our lettuce. And of course, with the value-added products, that's a great place for regional sales because it's a lot easier to send shelf-stable products like that instead of sending lettuce in a refrigerated truck. Phase 3 is starting to get pretty far out there. This is that 5 to 10 year outlook, and it's basically going to involve further crop diversification. We're going to, at that point, definitely be looking at much bigger regional distribution and sales. One of the things we do now already is we're very proud of our educational partnerships. We regularly have students come on field trips. We've done some work with the college. But by Phase 3, we really would love to do even more of that. That's part of that's the future, is growing future farmers, is one of our long-term goals. And then, but lastly, to run 10 greenhouses, we're probably also going to have to expand some of our on-site infrastructure. 3-year financials, just kind of an overview of what we're looking at. I won't go through all of these numbers, but as you can see in 2020, as I mentioned, those numbers are a little bit on the downside, and we'll have a negative profit this year because of all those lessons and efficiencies we've learned. By next year, once we've hammered those details out, we're projecting it to be significantly higher with that net operating profit of almost $20,000 a year. 2022, and I should clarify, these numbers are, again, assuming that we don't win, even though we would like to. This is what we're going to do. If we do win and can get some startup funding, then we're going to bring another greenhouse on in 2022. And basically that net revenue behind me for 2022 goes up by, the net will go up by about 15, the gross will go up by about 50,000 or more. On that note, thank you, and we would love to take some questions.
Yes.
Great presentation.
Thank you very much.
So you guys developed the system, right? That you're
I did.
using the.
Well, I developed the first greenhouse system that was in place, has been in place now for about 5 years.
Okay.
And we went to the Grable Valley produce guy to look at his system last year and decided that that was the way to do this next leafy greens greenhouse. So we kind of mimicked his setup in there, and we'll probably do it again because our growth, our sales of lettuce, I went from 200 bags of lettuce a week to 600 bags of lettuce a week, and not having any trouble at all selling it.
It's great lettuce. I love it, by the way.
Thank you.
So when you look at this, part of the value you bring is it being local and that you don't have to ship it as far. Do you see taking this footprint and doing it somewhere else so that you have that local distribution, or do you only see growing this within this region or within the Sheridan area?
Well, I only see it here for us in Sheridan, but the technology, if we can do it in northern Wyoming, they ought to be able to do it in eastern Wyoming and western Wyoming or wherever.
So tell me about that with the technology, because that's the thing I'm curious about, that I think you guys are able to leverage or to look at that possibly as a revenue stream.
So that's a really good question. In terms of the technology and the systems we're using, we haven't fully invented these out of the blue. There's a lot of things, Joe has done a lot of research when he built that first one, but what we have found is it involves a lot of refinement for Wyoming. I'll give you an example. Is just this week, Greenhouse 2, it's a heated greenhouse, it operates year-round, and yet on Sunday night, when it was 11 below, some of our vent fans they popped open and then they froze open. So a little bit of our lettuce froze out, actually. That's a lot of what we have to test and kind of refine those technologies, and why we can't just go watch a YouTube video or just go buy a pre-made thing from someone else, is because there's going to be some of these things we need to invest in that we need to learn about, so that it suits Wyoming.
Yeah. And did you own the property that the greenhouses are on?
Yes.
Okay, so that. And then do you know what the percentage of water savings is? Has there been any research?
That's a really good question. There has been research. I don't know offhand what it is, but we use about 200 gallons a week per greenhouse to grow 5,000 plants.
Yeah.
Okay,
And I'm a ditch rider for our ditch on either side of the street where we live. And this year, the main ditch above us took 30% of what we should have got as a tax because of shrinkage, evaporation, and water loss in the ditches.
Yeah.
And all the water that we use comes through saws. It's all piped. The only evaporation that we have is in the greenhouses themselves.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you.
Make my way to the microphone here. Love what you guys are doing. I think the greenhouses are awesome. I live not too far from you, so it's great to see them in the area. I'm curious because in your presentation you didn't really talk about potential e-commerce going online, and I'll tell you, there's a couple of companies I've looked at for meats locally, because I love locally sourced products. I think it's important to be able to have that option, but I'd love to be able to know what you have without having to try and find you. And I think that's something that I see kind of missing in your presentation so far. Have you guys given any thought to building a website and allowing people to buy online?
We have, and we have done that. Amidst the COVID crisis in March, Adam came from a marketing and web design background, and within minutes, a week or two, Adam came up with a way for us to service Sheridan proper with an e-commerce farmers market. And we had, I don't even know, 8 or 10 other producers in the area that were helping supply the store, and then they would deliver everything to our house, and we would box it up and deliver it to the folks that did not want to venture out.
Did you see an uptick in sales doing that, or just a steady, consistency of what you were doing?
It was a large uptick. So in April and May, that store grossed $12,000 total. So not just our products, that was for all the vendors, but that's money that people spent who were not comfortable going to the farmer's market or who just didn't have time. and that stayed in our community instead of going through Amazon. So we ultimately paused that in the late summer because there just wasn't as much of demand. The weather was nice, people liked going to the market, but we had a lot of feedback from folks that said, we'd love to have this in the winter. So we're actually looking at reopening that in partnership again with the other vendors and giving people that same option of basically shopping for local foods, including our lettuce and products, and having curbside pickup.
Great. Well, now one last question. The growth in the greenhouses, is demand exceeding what you're capable of producing right now? Or are you thinking we're going to scale and then we hope to grow the demand of what we have to offer?
So the second greenhouse that we have on property now we put our first plants in there in March of this year, and that was to service 2 elementary schools in May as a trial. And COVID hit, and that went out the window. And we have not had any problem at all selling the produce that comes out of that second greenhouse. So if the schools want another contract with us, we have to build another greenhouse.
Mm-hmm. We tripled our capacity this year, and we're still selling out every week. And we could easily sell more, as Joe's saying.
Great. Thanks, guys.
That's a good segue to my question, which was, right now, the local demand, you think maybe 3 greenhouses. If you had $100,000, $500,000 tomorrow, and you built, how many more greenhouses could you build to service the local economy before you needed to start delivering to Gillette? Or is that part of the plan ever, delivering to Gillette or further away where you need a refrigerated truck?
Yes, and we have taken stuff to Gillette, to a downtown farmers market in Gillette. We've had stuff go to Casper. There's now a e-commerce solution for Wyoming. It's called Eat Wyoming. That we haven't joined in on it yet, but I think some of our beef products will probably go on there first, because we just don't have enough lettuce to send out of this region right now. But it's a viable option for us in the future to get on this Eat Wyoming website.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So are you at 4 greenhouses for locally, or 6? You're not sure what the number is yet, but still just how much demand? Or?
You mind if I take a run at that?
Go ahead, yeah.
Because we actually made a lot of educated guesses when we were looking at our expansion numbers along exactly those lines. We know there's 7,400 households that technically might fit our economic demographic. We're not going to reach all of them. So we really made some guesses of estimates about how many people are going to come to farmers market, how many stores can we do. So based on those, we think that if we could snap our fingers and have up to greenhouse 5 just overnight and be growing more lettuce and some of these flowering crops like tomatoes and cucumbers, and that's why that's our phase 2 expansion, because that's all local for sure. If we could snap our fingers and have those greenhouses, we could sell nearly all of that locally. That's where the phase 3, greenhouses 6 through 10, that's where we know we've pretty well saturated the market at that point, the local market, and now it really is going to be a whole nother growth phase in terms of looking at those distribution channels. So if we built 10 greenhouses overnight, that would be a challenge. We'd be probably sitting on a lot of product until we could get it moved.
Did you say you do school visits, or schools come out to visit? Was that part of it? It just sounds fun or neat.
Yeah.
Can you mention that a little more?
Adam and I built a unit that could easily go into a classroom over a year ago, I guess, and we had it at the junior high last fall. Mm-hmm. And we went up there once a week to talk with the students, and then we've had, I don't even know, probably over a dozen tours of busloads of kids come out and tour the greenhouses.
And we even gave some Zoom tours this spring where we had some teachers who had wanted to do a tour, and then of course everything went online, and they said, well, we'd still love to do it. And it was great because there were some days that it was 20 degrees and snowing sideways outside, and we stepped inside, and all these kids still got to have a whole bunch of green in their screens. So if there are any teachers watching who are interested in that, please feel free to reach out to us. We love giving tours and are happy to do Zoom tours as well.
Specifically, you might look into Ag in the Classroom. It's a new initiative trying to happen, and this might go well with what they're doing. I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks.
Other questions?
Nice job.
Joe and Adam, thank you very much. A very, very intriguing business, and you're a wonderful asset to our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott.
All right, give us 2 more minutes. We got one more changeover, and we're going to be on to our last presenter. Thank you. Okay, for everyone on the live stream, this is our 5th and final presentation. This is Tyler O'Daniel with a very innovative truck accessory as well called Grillgate. I think you're going to enjoy this.
Well, hey everyone. Like Scott said, my name is Tyler O'Daniel, the founder of Grillgate. So I see some new faces in here. It's nice to see it. I know there's a lot of new eyes watching, so I'm excited to share what I have with you. Before anything else, I just want to say, thanks for your time. Thanks for the opportunity. I want to thank the sponsors as well. This is really awesome. I had never guessed 2 years ago I was laying in bed and woke up about 2 a.m. and this clicked in my mind, and fast forward through time and here we are. We got a prototype sitting here, and we're the finalists of the startup challenge. So it's pretty cool. With that, I got a video I want to show you. What it's going to do is just highlight basically how we take a normal tailgate, that's your standard OEM tailgate, and then we turn it into a grill gate, which basically within 2 minutes you can be up and grilling, and within another 2 minutes you can be down and on the road again. So if you play that. Awesome. So that's the Grillgate. And so all week long, I've been trying to think, what could I do to make this kind of interesting for you guys? And there's nothing more than I wanted to be able to cook some food for you guys on it. Unfortunately, time just won't allow. So actually what I did is I went down to, what goes better with grilling than a beer? So I went down to one of the breweries and picked up one of my favorite brews for all you guys. I know it's the end of the night and you've had a long day, so. Let's treat yourself to a beer. So talk a little bit about Grillgate. Again, my name's Tyler or Danielle. This is my invention and my baby. So what we saw just there in the video is kind of the highlights of how we go from your collapsed OEM looking tailgate to a Grillgate ready to grill on. It's pretty self-explanatory. One thing I do want to highlight though is that easy to clean piece. So what we have underneath the tailgate is actually a little hole, and it's going to be covered up by your logo, Grillgate's logo, your make's logo, whatever that might be. It'll either be kind of a spring-loaded mechanism or it'll be tapped in there. When you pull that off, you'll screw up a stainless steel bottle. All the grease will go into that bottle, and then it's good to go. It's clean, it's easy. When you put it away, all the grease will be trapped in there, and it's not going to be running over anything. So that's kind of how that works. As you can see too within the video, there's a lot of things we're already going to be changing on the next prototype. I think we got a list about a mile long, so I'm looking forward to getting started on that. The rest is pretty self-explanatory, so I'll keep moving. Who's going to buy this, and why are they going to buy it? One thing that this is, it's very convenient. It's going to be on your pickup within about 5 minutes. All you have to do is unhook one connector clip for your camera, 2 easy connects for cables, pop it off and pop this in, and it's good to go. So very convenient. It's compact, so you can fit you can fit more toys in your tailgate without a standard full-size grill back there, a little portable grill. Whether that's a dirt bike, a ATV, if you go antiquing or something like that, a bunch of antiques, hard to say, but very compact. It's a head turner, and there's value in that. When there's something new out and you kind of want to stand out and look a little different, this is going to be a prime option. It's very new, fresh to the market, and first of its kind. Easy to clean up, like I said, a little bit with the grease bottle. That grease bottle too is designed, it's going to be 3 pieces. So basically you have a cap that keeps everything on the inside. There's a crown piece. So when you get home and you want to clean it out, you actually take the whole crown out, and then you can dump everything out in there, scoop it, whatever that might be. And then stainless steel, so if you want to throw it in the dishwasher, you sure can, or whatever. It's reusable, and just keep using. And last off is, it's not a trade-off. This is a very quality grill. We're looking at probably between 80 and 100 average BTU per square inch. So this is right up there with your stay-at-home, full-size grill. Really nice. As far as who's buying this, so the approach I took on this is that basically right now we're going to market, when we go to market for Dodge, GMC, Ford, and Chevy initially. We'll expand into other markets. We're going to go 2014 and up for starters. With that, in the United States right now, there's 20 million pickups that actually fit that criteria. So to break that down a little bit, we want to hit at least one of these for a customer to be a probable customer. If you're an outdoor enthusiast, if you like going camping, hunting, hiking, fishing, whatever that might be, this is going to be great for you. You have it on the back of your pickup, your campsite. You get back after a long hunt or hike or something, you're not messing around in the dark. You just flip your tailgate down, you're going. Tailgaters, so if you like football games, basketball games, baseball games, anything that has to do with tailgating, NASCAR even, this is going to be a prime usage for this product. Grill enthusiasts, so if you like to just go over and maybe grill for someone's birthday or go to the park and have a quick barbecue, anything like that, great use there. And then vehicle enthusiasts, there's a huge market for vehicle enthusiasts. People will buy a brand new vehicle and sink $2,000 to $3,000 more dollars into it just in accessories, whether that's rims, toolboxes, bed liners, lift kits, whatever that is. So this is right there in that market as well. So ideally, if we can hit 1, we have a potential customer. If we can hit 2, it's getting more probable. 3, we're getting a lot more probable. 4, they probably wanted it yesterday. So that's kind of the target we're trying to hit. As far as competitors go, this is first of its kind, so there's not a whole lot of competition out there. If there was some competition that I had to pinpoint, it'd be your portable grills and your full-size grills. So to look into that a little bit, one thing I wanted to do is just make sure that with those two grills, we stood out a little bit, and we beat them in some areas. So some places that we beat the portable grills, this is going to be clean. We're going to have a line of basically eco-friendly solvents and grease cutters that when you're done using this, you can spritz it down, spritz a little water on it. It's all going to get caught in that grease bottle of yours, and then that's going to keep the grill nice and clean, so it's ready for your next use. It's stable, so your little portable grills, if you're out tailgating or camping, they've got little legs, and maybe if it's dark and you're multitasking and you go and kick it over, it's not gonna spill your food all over the ground. You can run into this, full steam ahead, and it's not gonna detach the tailgate from your pickup. It's safe. So if you're in the timber and you have an open flame or a campfire or something, the likelihood of starting a fire when you're cooking your food is a lot more high than with the Grillgate. Your flame and your heat's actually going to be centralized right underneath the hood. And I'll talk a little bit more about how we're keeping the heat centralized there on the next slide. And then better cook quality. So like I was saying, it's not a trade-off. We got 80 to 100 BTUs per square inch, and it's going to be minimal hot spots on the grill, and it'll just be a quality cooking product. How we beat the full-size grills. So if you're like me, I've moved a few different times, and it always seems one of the things I dread the most is loading up the grill and taking that with you, because it's dirty, greasy, it's full of soot, and you get it in the back of wherever you're at, and whatever it touches, it gets dirty, and it's cumbersome. You're always trying to make it so it doesn't fall out of the back of your pickup or whatever that might be. This is going to completely eliminate all those problems. Easy to pack up. Like I said, this right now, for the prototype, it probably takes about 2.5 to 3 minutes to set up, and then same to take down. Our next editions or iterations, I'm going to say maybe a minute and a half is what it'll take. So it's super fast and simple. And then increased mobility. Anywhere you can get your pickup, you can be cooking food, whether that's halfway up the Rocky Mountains or Bighorns, whatever that might be. It's good to go. So one question you might be asking yourself is safety. Is this safe to have on the back of my pickup? And the way this is designed, it's completely safe. So what we have, the stainless steel part up there, and as you can kind of see, beneath that there's a gap. And so we have the bottom of your tailgate and the grease pan. In that gap is a thermal wool. That thermal wool is rated up to about 1,000 degrees continuous heat being pushed down on that. So what the thought is behind that is any heat that's trapped and going down towards the bottom in the hood of the grill is actually going to get caught in that thermal wool, and you can touch your hand on the bottom of the tailgate, and it's still as cool as any other time of day. So that's a big piece. And then on top, as you can see, there's actually a thermal cover as well, and that's going to be an accessory. So that's not going to come with every single grill, but what that's going to do is two things. If you're at home and you're grilling, the hood of your grill gets hot. Same concept here. With this, if you were to maybe touch that, it's going to give you a little bit of a buffer, and it won't burn your hand, whereas it might otherwise. On top of that, it's going to help you burn your fuel a lot more efficient. You're keeping your heat in there. It's going to be burning a lot less gas. The second component that I incorporated on this is actually going to be a quick detach system. Now this is in the rare instance that something might actually build up. You have a lot of grease in there, get a little grease fire, that sort of thing. And you start thinking, this is making me a little nervous. I don't want this on my pickup. Basically, you'll be able to hit two buttons on your cables, and then just push another button, and it'll be able to drop off your pickup. And so that's just a extra safety feature. It's better to be prepared and not need something than need something and not be prepared. So the pricing, what's this going to cost? So in this instance right now, this is kind of where I'm thinking we're going to be at. I'd like to retail these for about $1,500 per unit for the base model. And the unit cost right now, I'm very confident we're going to be able to hit that $1,000 mark. And this is a very conservative approach. As you can see, we have a 33% margin. That might be a little high to some. Let me explain why that's 33%. This is going to be a completely USA made product. I don't want to do any importing. And better yet, I want it to be a Sheridan, Wyoming, USA made product, and to create jobs here and keep the business here. I think this would be a really cool thing for Sheridan to have in its arsenal, and with everyone else, it's all the other entrepreneurs in Sheridan. So that's kind of where we're getting our pricing, and as you can see, some 2-year projections here. I'm going to talk about that a little bit more on the next slide, but basically for the first year, it's going to be going to market next August, so we'll have 5 months from August to December. I think I'm very confident we can get 500 units sold, and that's going to bring in a revenue of about $770K. Following that into 2022, I'm very confident we can hit that 4,000 unit sell mark. I know it's ambitious, but it's a drop in the bucket. And that net about 6.1 million in revenue. So this is what that would look like, kind of broke down. As you can see, 2020, where we're at right now, I'm sitting negative just because it's my own money going in there to make it what it is right now. Into next year, when we launch, we'd look at, about $500,000 in the cost of goods sold, and then the lighter yellow is your operating, and then the net profit's going to be your gray. So as you can see, steep raise, it's ambitious. I know for a fact, though, I can about guarantee we can hit those numbers and hit those marks. As far as progress goes, so as of right now, today, the business it's in its infancy, and it's finally there, and it's really exciting. I'd say we have a proof of concept. It's about 60% to where I want it to be. As far as the R&D piece of it goes, that's ongoing. I have patent pending on the Grillgate itself. I've filed an LLC for it, and I've also got a few domain names as well after our last discussion. So where am I headed, and where's Grillgate going? So basically, I have 3 more phases planned out until we go to market. Phase 2 is going to be a breakdown of basically 2 different tiers. We're going to have part 1, which is going to be another prototype. It'll be the alpha prototype is what we're going to call it, and then part 2 would be the beta. The reason we want to do this is basically we're 60% now. We'll have another prototype. Let's get her up to 85% where we want to be. We'll see what's wrong with it. We'll address that. We'll take out the next one. We'll go from 85 to about 95% of where we want to be, and then it's time to do a little adjusting there and run with the pre-production, which will be phase 3. Phase 3, we're looking at probably putting out 5 to 10 units. And I'm thinking right now it's going to be probably about 8 units, 2 for Ford, 2 for Chevy, 2 for Dodge, and 2 for GMC. After that, those will go out, just kind of disperse, and it's going to be more of an R&D, keep your eye on it, like, what's wrong with this? What are the people saying that are using them? What can we address and fix? And what's good about it? What can we highlight and make even better? So that'll take us through phase 3. If additional capital is going to be needed, it'll be needed in this phase. I don't foresee that happening, but I just wanted to add that to include it. Phase number 4, that's when I'm hoping to go to market, August 2021. And it's ambitious. It's less than a year away. And the reason I want to do it then is, NFL football starts September 10th, 2021. And I know for the benefit of those people, they want the Grillgate. So we got to get it to them. With that, we're going to do some branding in there. We're also going to have marketing. We're going to unleash the website, and we're just going to start this rolling and let it snowball into what it's really going to be. Now, to expand a little bit past phase 4, I want to talk about job creation. As you can see, I say hire 2 to 4 employees there. So what I've kind of come up with is once we hit a month where we can sell 100 units, it's going to continue that 100 units. That'll forecast and just keep growing, picking up steam. At 100 units, I can justify either an acquisition or a lease of a facility on top of hire 2 people for assembly. For every additional 50 units on top of that per month, I can hire 1 more assembly position. And then there will be sales positions, marketing positions intertwined within that. So if we go back, So if we go back to our 4,000 units of volume, that's going to be about 325 units per month. So that's going to be about 7 assembly jobs, 3 salespeople, and a marketing. So we're at about a team of 11 by 2022 if what I'm saying is true and if I can make it happen. To close out, fund allocation. So Startup Challenge has been awesome. I really envision it being able to take me to the next steps. And the next steps for me are really get out the alpha and the beta prototype and then start working on that pilot production. I believe that with this here, $50,000, that can get me to at least the middle, if not the end of the pilot production, and be ready to go to market with a finished actual Grillgate. So that's what I have. If you guys have any questions for me, that'd be awesome. I'd take those now. And again, before I say anything else, I want to really thank the sponsors and thank all you guys for putting in the time. It's awesome and it's a great opportunity.
Thank you, Tyler.
Thank you.
Okay, questions?
Tyler, great presentation. Can you speak to the paint on this? I think you kind of talked with this before, the different colors, the options, because obviously this is tailgate, this is right in the back of the pickup. So what are the options for those customers to make it match their vehicle? What does that require?
Perfect, definitely. Great question. So as of right now, this is all still a little subject to change because it is under review. But what I would like to do is built within the website, basically. So when you select your make and your model of your pickup and the year, then basically it's going to have an algorithm in there that autofills what paint codes go with that vehicle. So what you have to do as a consumer is basically go to the place in your vehicle, whether that's your door, the side of your door, or in your trunk, or wherever that might be, that sticker, and grab that paint code. Put that paint code in the box, and then it'll be an upcharge. Every paint costs a little bit different, and then we can actually take charge of that, get that painted, and get that out to you. It'll come with a couple weeks of a delay just because it'll be custom for every vehicle. Besides that point, we'll also have basically your 4 or 5 basic colors that we offer that'll be complementary to pretty much every vehicle, and then there'll be like your Grillgate color, and then the ones that are just the most basic and the most standard for vehicles.
Can that paint be done locally?
Yes, it can. So there's a few paint shops here that I know of, and just depending on the volume, that's where we really will start bottlenecking. Is if we have 500 of these that need painted, and then trying to acquire 500 different paints, and then the time for that's where we kind of bottleneck. So there's still some research to be done there, but it can be done, and it's very possible. And I wanted to speak a little bit more because you did mention different options and that sort of thing. So this is the standard 5 burner, and this is what we went with for the first one. There's going to be also a 3 burner, a 4 burner, and possibly even a 6 burner. There's going to be a lot of different options there. And there's some things we're looking into on the side compartments right now. I don't know if I want to share all that quite with you yet, but use your imagination. There's a lot of different iterations of this to come.
Tyler, I'm that guy who's taken his entire grill, loaded in the truck to go to the equestrian center for 4th of July, and we did that several years in a row, and I just got so tired of doing it. So we don't barbecue, and now we're doing sandwiches. But so I think I really like the concept, but I also use my truck for a lot of utility. We live out of town, got cows, fixing fence, I'm loading things, all of that kind of stuff, and I kind of wonder about the sturdiness of the lid. And so what's the material? Is it the same metal steel that you'd see in any other tail bed on that side, on the tail bed side? And how do you make sure that it's protected?
Yeah, that's a great question. So actually what we have on here right now is the whole tailgate itself, minus the hood and the grease pan, that's all carbon steel. The hood and the grease pan is stainless steel, and it's actually built with thicker steel than what you have on your normal tailgate. So as far as durability, when this goes to market, it will be just as strong as the tailgate pre-existing on your pickup, if not more strong. The thought behind it is right now the average portable grill lasts about 2.7 years. People toss them and get a new one. I want this is a big investment. I want this to last the life of your ownership of your pickup, whether that's 7 years or 10 years. And so yes, driving a 4-wheeler, a dirt bike, loading up whatever, as long as your cables can withstand it on the side of your pickup, this is going to be able to withstand it and not dent or do anything. Won't break it. Yep.
Can we prop it up? Put this behind it, maybe?
Oh yeah, so you can see it a little better. That works for it. A little off kilter.
Maybe that helps, I don't know.
Okay, other questions from the judging panel?
I have a question. Thank you. I'm very curious about the price. I'm amazed at how cheap barbecues are these days.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have a truck, and I probably won't be barbecuing, but all you will. So would you pay $1,500? And how did you get an idea of whether that price point will work with the market that you're targeting?
Great question. So there's a few different things that went into that idea and how I arrived at the $1,500. The first thing I really did was look into what other aftermarket accessories for pickups are out there and what do they cost. People right now will pay for wheels on their pickups. Anywhere, those will go for about $500 a set all the way up to sometimes $3,000, $3,500 a set. And those are probably the most common aftermarket accessory you put on a vehicle. And so that went into it. Tonneau covers, toolboxes, and that sort of thing, they're priced, usually under $1,000 unless you get pretty extravagant, but people still buy those a lot. The next thing I did is when I was really thinking about, are we in between 1,000 and 2,000? Is that doable? I started asking people that were into this. I was like, this is the concept now. What would you pay for this without saying anything? And most of the time, I'd say 80% of the time, the feedback I got was actually above the price point where I'm at. And they were sitting about $1,750 to $1,800. And so I thought, $1,500 is a very attractive number because on the next iterations, when we start adding different options and making it look a little bit different, we can always step that up if the market's there.
That's great.
Yep.
I have a question. What was the path to market? What was the path to market? Are you going to do this online? Is there a retailer? We talked a little bit at the semifinal regarding dealerships, in local dealerships or statewide. What was your path to market?
So the plan to go to market right now is going to be a combination of direct sales with wholesale sales. I've in talk with a few dealerships right now that would gladly present this on their showroom floor, and if it goes over well, they'll gladly spiderweb it to the other connections they have. And so basically, I just need one place to hit, and then I can spiderweb this around the nation quick. As far as the direct sales piece, that's going to be where we really get into the people that want to do the customizations, the paint jobs, and that sort of thing. That's where I think we're going to hit our niche big time. But I think the wholesale is what's really going to drive getting this pushed out to the public and ramp up the marketing and everything for us.
So my second question, or follow-up to that, are you ready to pump the brakes? I mean, if this thing takes off, scale's not something that's graduated. It happens quickly.
Yep.
Let's say you get orders for 8,000. 12,000.
And I've thought about.
Are you prepared for that type of scale? If you catch the tiger by the tail, so to speak, are you prepared for that?
And the answer is no. the answer is no. And and to get to that answer, it'd be great to sit down with someone that's happened to and see how they handled that. I'd love to, Tim. That'd be great to sit down with you and visit about that. But I really don't know what I would do because, as you know, in Wyoming, workforce it's kind of a problem sometimes. And if we hit, we have 8,000 orders. Well, gosh, at 50 units, I need a new employee. That's a lot of employees I need right there. And where do I find 40 employees just like that? So that's a great question, and I'm not too prepared to answer it. I think there's a lot of remedies for it though that we could find. And
Start with a higher price.
Yeah.
Just price yourself into what your capacity is.
Okay.
My thought.
Yeah.
Just a quick question. I got to assume your retail price does not include shipping costs. And obviously, if you're going to have online sales, you're going to be wanting to take orders from anywhere across the country or around the world. But have you, this is a heavy item. I'm assuming the weight's pretty heavy. Have you averaged what that shipping cost might look like, just so you have an idea of how that might impact your sales?
Yep, and that's a great question. And no, I haven't. I don't know the actual price point for the weight. What I've done is I put a placeholder of $100 per unit in there on shipping. Now, if that's too much or too little, I'm not sure. I'm with you, and I don't know quite what the exact weight coming out the end is going to be. It's a little heavy right now, and I'm really hoping we hit about that 75 pounds for a tailgate. But yeah, great question. I need to do some research on that and see.
And you talked about this in the semifinal round, but can you talk a little bit more about the patent? What sort of patents you filed for, the process, and where you're at with that?
Definitely, yeah. So what I've done is, as of September 17th, I filed a utility provisional patent on this. And so where we're at right now is it's patent pending. I have a year of protection, basically. It's a placeholder. And what that's going to allow me to do, and that's another reason why we want to kick off in August, is so that it's as final as it's going to be. But basically, kind of just feed the attorney a little bit of, the changes and that sort of thing. And then we're going to draw it up to the specifics and then file the actual patent come probably the end of next August into September. But as of right now, it is a provisional patent for exactly what it is. And I have a year's time to do that. So.
And regarding safety, are there regulations you have to follow? Is there things specific to a truck, the vehicle, or to YDOT, or Department of Transportation?
Yeah.
And then is there a liability insurance that gets compiled with that?
Great question. So with DOT, I've looked into this quite a bit just to make sure that we can actually go to market with this. And the only thing that DOT says is you cannot have propane that is hooked up while moving. And so what we're going to do is we're going to make this so that if you have little bottles in there, you can't have them hooked up while they're stowed away. And then that'll address that. Another thing DOT says, you can't have more than 5 bottles in the back of your pickup at a certain time. And so basically with this, you'd want to have, at max 2, or get your bigger bottle and have that sitting in the back of your pickup so you can drop that when you get to wherever you're going to grill at. But other than that, no, we're in good shape.
I think that's everything, Tyler. Thank you.
Good to go?
Yeah, nice job.
Well, thanks again for everything, guys. It's awesome. Hey, no, that's okay.
So for those of you on the live stream, that concludes the 5 presentations. We thank you very much for your interest in tuning in. I think you can see we have a lot of amazing entrepreneurs and innovation going on in Sheridan. We now will go to judge deliberations, but before that, I would like to make sure that everyone knows that they have a vote as well in all of this. So go ahead and text your preference to the number on the screen. And we will be wrapping up the live stream in just a couple of minutes, and the judge deliberation will start. Once again, thank you very much for attending, and hopefully you've enjoyed the 2020 Sheridan Startup Challenge.